Have fun in your command. Don't always run at a breakneck pace. Take leave when you've earned it. Spend time with your families. It's nice to say let's be bipartisan, but we're a partisan nation. We were raised as a partisan nation. The Army will take its lessons learned. They are excellent at looking into themselves and reflecting on what did we do right. What did we do wrong? You can't just have slogans. You can't just have catchy phrases. You have to have an agenda. And I think what the Republican Party has to do, if it's going to incorporate the Tea Party efforts in it, is to come up with an agenda that the American people can see, touch, and actually believe in, and something they believe in. I don't know that there is much the United States can do except work with the international community. Politics is not beanbags. It's serious, tough stuff. In terms of the legal matter of creating a contract between two people that's called marriage and allowing them to live together with the protection of law, it seems to me is the way we should be moving in this country. It's a disgrace that we have millions of people who are uninsured. We need to understand that we as citizens and as a government in any community throughout this country have no more important obligation than to educate those who are going to replace us. You need to understand, if you take out a government, take out a regime, guess who becomes the government and regime and is responsible for the country? You are. So if you break it, you own it. When Jerry Springer thinks you've gone too far, my friends, you have gone too far. I think the Iranians are clearly determined to have a nuclear program, and we have to assume that with a nuclear program they have the capability and the will to create a nuclear weapon. I consider myself a moderate Republican. I have very, very moderate social views, and I'm pretty strong on defense matters. We all hoped in 2001 that we could put in place an Afghan government under President Karzai that would be able to control the country, make sure Al-Qaeda didn't come back, and make sure the Taliban wasn't resurging. It didn't work out. Too often we ask our schools to be truant officers, our teachers to be truant officers, because we're giving them children who have, they're not ready to learn. And if they're not ready to learn by the 3rd grade, they know they're behind. It isn't enough just to scream at the Occupy Wall Street demonstrations. We need our political system to start reflect this anger back into, how do we fix it? How do we get the economy going again? I always like to take my time and examine the two candidates, see not only the two candidates, but the policies they will bring in, the people they will bring in, who they might appoint to the Supreme Court, and look at the whole range of issues before making a decision. I respect the fact that many denominations have different points of view with respect to gay marriage, and they can hold that in the sanctity in the place of their religion and not bless them or solemnize them. Foe means enemy. Now, will we have differences of opinion with the Russians? Yes. Will they get mad at us from time to time, and we get mad at them? That's part of the normal diplomatic relations. Look at the world. There is no pure competitor to the United States of America. In 2008, I spoke out against calling the president a Muslim, as if that was a curse. And then in 2012, once again, I was very disturbed about some of the intolerance I was seeing in the party. So I made a statement saying there's a level of intolerance in some parts of the Republican Party, and there was, and I think there still is. In the last several years, I have been troubled by the right shift of the Republican Party too far to the right. Is there something wrong with being a Muslim in this country? The answer's no. That's not America. Is there something wrong with some 7-year-old Muslim American kid believing that he or she could be president? Trump has no sense of shame. Standing in support of children is something we should all be able to get behind, regardless of party affiliation. It is better to lead from behind and to put others in front especially when you celebrate victory when nice things occur. You take the front line when there is danger. Then people will appreciate your leadership. There can be no keener revelation of a society's soul than the way in which it treats its children. For to be free is not merely to cast off one's chains, but to live in a way that respects and enhances the freedom of others. Money won't create success, the freedom to make it will, where globalization means, as it so often does, that the rich and powerful now have new means to further enrich and empower themselves at the cost of the poorer and weaker. We have a responsibility to protest in the name of universal freedom. A good head and a good heart are always a formidable combination. As long as poverty, injustice, and gross inequality persist in our world, none of us can truly rest. To deny people their human rights is to challenge their very humanity. Our human compassion binds us the one to the other, not in pity or patronizingly, but as human beings who have learned how to turn our common suffering into hope for the future. Let there be work, bread, water, and salt for all. A good leader can engage in a debate frankly and thoroughly, knowing that at the end he and the other side must be closer, and thus emerge stronger. You don't have that idea when you are arrogant, superficial, and uninformed. There is no easy walk to freedom anywhere, and many of us will have to pass through the valley of the shadow of death again and again before we reach the mountaintop of our desires. Courageous people do not fear forgiving for the sake of peace. Let freedom reign. The sun never set on so glorious a human achievement. We pledge ourselves to liberate all our people from the continuing bondage of poverty, deprivation, suffering, gender, and other discrimination. Forget the past. There is nothing like returning to a place that remains unchanged to find the ways in which you yourself have altered. There is no such thing as part freedom. In my country, we go to prison first and then become president. When the water starts boiling, it is foolish to turn off the heat. If there is a country that has committed unspeakable atrocities in the world, it is the United States of America. If you want to make peace with your enemy, you have to work with your enemy. Then he becomes your partner. No country can really develop unless its citizens are educated. It is wise to persuade people to do things and make them think it was their own idea. Only free men can negotiate. A prisoner cannot enter into contracts. My son has died of AIDS. Any man or institution that tries to rob me of my dignity will lose. I do not deny that I planned sabotage. I did not plan it in a spirit of recklessness nor because I have any love of violence. I planned it as a result of a calm and sober assessment of the political situation that had arisen after many years of tyranny, exploitation, and oppression of my people by the whites. Our daily deeds as ordinary South Africans must produce an actual South African reality that will reinforce humanity's belief in justice, strengthen its confidence in the nobility of the human soul, and sustain all our hopes for a glorious life for all. Even if you have a terminal disease, you don't have to sit down and mope. Enjoy life and challenge the illness that you have. I stand here before you not as a prophet, but as a humble servant of you, the people. Communists have always played an active role in the fight by colonial countries for their freedom, because the short-term objects of communism would always correspond with the long-term objects of freedom movements. I have cherished the ideal of a democratic and free society in which all persons live together in harmony and with equal opportunities. It is an ideal which I hope to live for and to achieve. But if needs be, it is an ideal for which I am prepared to die. There are many people who feel that it is useless and futile to continue talking about peace and non-violence against a government whose only reply is savage attacks on an unarmed and defenseless people. Without education, your children can never really meet the challenges they will face. So it's very important to give children education and explain that they should play a role for their country